Swing it, boys, swing for the fence. Shove it, boys, make 'em miss. Some big league chew and a baseball souvenir. Come on, sing with me now. The Joe is home, sweet home. It's roll, tide, roll. The Joe is home, that's right. Home, sweet home. Hey, look, is that Roll Tide Willie over there? Blitz, Bama, Blitz.
Welcome back, everyone. It is the Weekly Joke Podcast, the best and longest running podcast dedicated to Alabama baseball on the entire internet. We're the biggest, we're the longest running. We can prove that too, probably. 3 years and going. Now we're at the end of season 3, and we even started this doing Twitter Spaces, I think, in 2022. So we could probably count that, but I know we've been in this format for about 3 years. I'm your host, Paul Graham. I've got with me tonight, fresh off their trip to Omaha, I think back 24 hours or less. I've got Drew Champlin, top left, Roger Myers, bottom center. Just the three of us tonight. We've got these guys having been there. I think it's good to while it's still fresh on everyone's mind, the trip to Omaha. We're going to talk a lot about just the scene, this event. Obviously, been a long time since we've been there. Drew, obviously you've never been before. I've never been before. Roger, I don't know if you went in any of those other years back in the time. Never.
Yeah, this was my first trip as well.
Yeah. So, again, this is all very fresh to us, fresh as a program. Games didn't turn out like we wanted or maybe someone expected. I mean, you might have expected you lay an egg at some point. Probably didn't expect to lay 2, and we'll talk about those games a little bit, although we won't belabor the point. I do want to talk a lot about the scene and this event and what relative to Final Fours and all the championship games and such that we as a program and the different ways we end seasons. This is certainly a very unique one. Drew, doing okay? Trip back all right?
Yeah, I flew back Omaha to Nashville. Then my wife had flown back Sunday, so she took the car from the Birmingham airport. So I had to catch an Uber at about 11:15, 11:30, but strolled into Hoover around midnight. It was a great trip. I guess I was there for 4 days. And just happy to talk about it, whatever you want to ask me.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the scene in general. I mean, this is a quote a minor league ballpark, but right on the verge of being a lot like a major league park. I mean, compare it to compared to a major league park, or obviously it's a big upgrade from say Hoover Met or somewhere like that. Just tell us a little bit about Charles Schwab Field.
Yeah, I guess it seats 24,000 or something. Roger, is that so?
I saw pushing 25,000 is
Okay.
some of the announced attendances.
Yeah, and they sell some walk-up tickets. So, I was able to go to games every day. I went to both the first 2 Troy games, both of our games, and walked around a bit. The Georgia-Oklahoma first game on Monday night. And, to me, there's really not a bad seat in the house. You do kind of have to deal with the sun during a hot day. You got to know where the shaded seats are if you want to have a good time at the afternoon games and just spend a little more money on those for comfort. But pretty walkable. I mean, sometimes the concourses get crowded, but food's decent. There's plenty of options. I really like the outdoor. When you're outside the stadium, we were at Rocco's a bit. I think I had 4 Jello shots, not all at once, but did contribute that. Pizza was really good at Rocco's. I think that's what people really need to know. So, man, just so many tents, so much apparel. Roger and I are wearing our men's College World Series hats. I got a T-shirt and a pullover. It's an incredible experience. It's probably a lot cooler than say like a Final
World
Four.
Series. Mine's just a World Series hat.
Yeah, it's better than a Final Four because I think when you're at the Final Four, you're so far from the actual action. Not that I've ever been, but I hope to go back. I'd even go back to this if Alabama wasn't playing.
Yeah, Roger, talk about the dynamic of, there are 8 teams. A Final Four, you got 4 fan bases there, but there's 70,000 people, 60,000 people in some of these big football arenas. This is pretty intimate setting still with 24,000, but you got fan bases, 8 at least out there. Talk about the interactions with the fan bases and what you saw among other fans.
Very, very, just, no, a lot less problems with fans than say in a football game or even basketball. I mean, like people, you understand, people understand in baseball that, you lose a lot of games in baseball, even when you're really good. And, it's just kind of more of a relaxed fan experience. You banter back and forth, but like there's really not like a lot of trash talking. There's not a lot of, you're just like, hey, how did y'all get here? What are you doing? Where are you staying? And then saw a fair amount of LSU people there. I saw a fair amount of Arkansas people there. People love to come. I went over to the tailgate area. My LSU buddy that used to come up here for our tailgate and like cook, Cajun food at my tailgate back in the day when LSU was here. He called when I was on the way up there and let me know of a lady that was from Omaha that had a tent and they told me where the spot was in the parking lot. They have an assigned spot and encouraged me to go over and meet his friends there, and I did. And she had been doing this for years and years, and Jimmy Roy, my buddy, and the LSU people, kind of take over things when they show up. And over the years, she became an LSU fan just because of meeting all these people. So once I saw the LSU tent, I knew where they were. And, great, cooking for everybody, drinks for everybody, just whatever. And there was several LSU tents, a lot of tents of teams that weren't there. But, you had North Carolina of the groups, the only one that had been there anytime real recently. Obviously, Troy had never been. 27 years for Alabama. It's been up for Oklahoma, Texas. Well, they've been the most of anybody, so I'm sure that they have.
Yeah.
And it's been like almost 20 years for Georgia. So had a lot of new people to the area. A lot of them that hadn't been to Schwab yet. And Rosenblatt, that's more of a romantic. Baseball is romantic, right? So more probably a lot of old timers would say, "Oh, it was so much better there." But I couldn't imagine anything going any better. It's probably of all the football championships, basketball championships, I think it could be possibly the best run one. It's just great getting to see that many different fan bases too, and then others just coming just because they love baseball and they're used to coming down the hall.
Yeah, yeah. Drew, I mean, a throng of media there. Obviously, the base you've got the baseball media, the D1 guys and all the kind of Twitter-based and internet-based media, but you also got a lot of national media attracted to this, and probably about the only time of the year you get that for college baseball, right?
Yeah, I will say before I talk about the media that when I first sat down the Troy West Virginia game one, there were two Oregon State fans to my right, and I talked to them a bit. It was the guy had been coming with his dad several years in a row, and they're still a bit sore about Peyton Steele's throw to the plate to
I think you're safe.
yeah, they do, and but they were real mad just that the camera angle wasn't very good and the replays weren't very good, which that's accurate. I mean, we he saw what we saw, just like he catches it, he fires it home, then there's like a totally different angle, and he gets him, and so yeah, who did I meet? I met Micah Butel before the game. He goes to a lot of stadiums. Messaged with Mark Etheridge. He didn't get a chance to see him, but I know Mark pretty well. It was great to see Michael Casagrande of AL.com providing some wall-to-wall coverage. AL.com learned about college baseball this year about 3 weeks ago. I'm just giving them a hard time with that. I had a good chat with Nick Kelly at the St. John's Regional, but yeah, you do always. I always like seeing. I follow a lot of those guys and like seeing their stuff. Baseball is just kind of the best for stuff like that. Just
It
kind of
is. Yeah.
really cool graphics and pictures and stories. It's that's why it's probably not. I mean, I'm just such a big college baseball fan these days.
Yeah. And you tend to, I mean, you feel like you get to know the players better in baseball because there's so many games. It's a little more of a quaint environment, smaller
Hmm.
crowds. The same folks are there all the time. It's and so this is one of the only times where you get it on a bigger stage from a national standpoint, highly regionalized, right? I mean, everything's very conference centric and local centric, but then this is the first chance to get it. Actually, it's doing pretty good TV ratings from what I've seen. I mean, these games are bumping up over all the first 10 games. I think they said were over a million sets of eyeballs on them, which for ESPN at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. I mean, that's got to be a
Yeah,
nice little boon for them. I
that's
mean,
not too bad.
relative to what else would be on it. I guess that's kind of the way they look at it. A little bit about the city itself. Roger, anything you sightsee at all in the city or get out? I know you
Um,
get out, run or walk a little bit.
yeah, went around. I hotel hopped.
Mm.
I was there six days, I guess. So had to change three different times, maybe four.
Hmm.
Downtown, if you're in the right downtown area, pretty much where I think where Drew was. There's a lot of walkable stuff right there. Did go out to AAA, see a game, see Peyton Wilson play on,
Yeah. Mhm. Oh,
and it's gosh, 20 miles out of town.
oh well.
It's in Papillon, Nebraska. And it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, a big park and in a big field and nothing around, nothing built up around it.
Mhm.
So that was kind of odd. And it was just weird being at a baseball game where I didn't really care what happened other than wanting Peyton to do well. But he left us some tickets and I got to speak to him before the game. So that was
Good.
nice.
Yeah.
Went, Rocco several times and a couple of restaurants, but the baseball village or whatever that they had right around the stadium was really neat. I took batting practice. I threw for the radar gun. Uh, I hit better than I threw, surprisingly, but
Yeah.
neither one of them were all that good.
Yeah.
And then
Here's one question: Do the Storm Chasers, do they ever play at Schwab Field? Do they play exclusively at that other park?
as far as I can tell, they play exclusively there.
Okay.
I was told that the only that Creighton plays their baseball games at Schwab in front of like 300 people.
I was about to say.
I asked the guy at Rocco's door one day. I said, like, how much percentage of your business do you do in these 2 weeks
Mhm.
of the College World Series compared to the rest of the year? And he said that they made enough to pay the rent and all the expenses for the year in the 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's probably a lot like like Black Friday for retailers, or you think of like honey baked ham on Thanksgiving when the Thanksgiving and Christmas, those 2 days. You ever had to go get a honey baked ham on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving? You know exactly what I'm talking about. They're probably something I'd relate that to. Finally, and I'll ask you this first, Roger. The former players, you were posting tons of pictures with former
Yes.
players. Just talk about who all.
Josh Rutledge and John Kelton sat with me for both of our games, but Ken Brown was right there in that area. Ryan Blanchard, Georgie Salem, uh, Austin Evans, Tyler Odell,
Mhm.
Tommy Seidel was with
Okay.
me on and Randy were with me on actually had seats over near where Drew was on the Monday game. Tuesday, yeah, but my days are screwed.
Mhm.
Monday, let's see, I ran into Kenny Roberts on the other game. Tommy Hunter, um, Kent Mathis. Uh, let's see who else. Gosh,
Dozens. Dozens of players. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. Let's see. Who was at the party on Friday night? There was more too.
Tanner Devaney was there.
Devaney
Brent,
and see Chandler Taylor, Tanner Devaney,
yeah, Brent
um,
Carter was there. Not Friday night, but he was there.
Brent, and
Um,
oddly enough, Tommy Hunter came to speak to me a little before the first game, but he represents Cord Rager, so he had to go sit with his parents during the game, and so that was an unusual
Yeah.
situation for him. gosh, they just came, I mean, and there was more that came that like I never even ended up getting to see.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was quite a showing, and the staff was appreciative, and the guys were like, "Hey, we always promised ourselves if they ever made it, we're going to come."
Coming back. Yeah, yeah. It looked to me too like like the big y'all were at that event, the Alumni Association or Yale, Alabama, or somebody had put on, and big turnout there. But it just looked like just a fun time all around. We went out there with expectations of playing better than we did. We probably didn't expect to be in the finals. It probably you just probably felt like well, two of us didn't, right? Go we didn't feel like we'd have enough hitting to carry us through, but so you kind of go out there a little relaxed, and it's kind of gravy once you get there. Only one team's going to emerge with the win there. And we talked about it a little bit, Drew, I think last week or on one of these the getting there is such a big deal for, and we'll talk about Troy a lot here later. I've got that more a Troy and the exposure for people around the country who never heard of Troy, right? It's a little different for the University of Alabama. The university doesn't necessarily need the exposure, but the baseball program does. It helps represent what a well-rounded athletic program you've got. Rob Vaughn looks like a star in the coaching profession at Alabama. I mean, it just represented himself so well. Skylar Meade, same thing. I mean, of any of these coaches that they're talking about
They
5 days in,
those
there's
two
two.
really, really handled the media so well. They did a great job.
Mm-hmm. But Drew, talk about just the exposure. Your thoughts on what this means to the program, the university, and the Alabama baseball community, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I think it shows that, you know, shows recruits that we can get here, even if,
Mhm.
if you're coming and you're not just chasing a bag. I mean, we can't really
Mm-hmm.
sign guys who are chasing a bag, but it's a lot easier to compete in baseball than maybe a couple other sports if you're, I mean, I think we have maybe in a good spot, but yeah, you seeing that, hey, we can get guys developed to be here, but yeah, the only we lost our games to what 8 or 9 to nothing, and then
Mm-hmm.
14-2. I don't really want to think of
Yeah,
the final scores, but you had some idiots who just discovered Alabama baseball who would say
exactly.
stuff like, "Well, we should have just lost in the Super Regionals," but no, there's I don't know how many. There's more than 350 Division I teams, and
Mm-hmm.
a bad day in Omaha is better than many other days. I don't know if Rob or Skylar Mead said that, but it's true. Troy went down 12-0 their final game, but they did beat Ole Miss, so that was incredible for them. But Alabama, we just we made it. I think that's kind of a first step, and I think a lot of the got a chance to talk to a couple of the coaches just kind of offhand, and they said we're going to be back. We're going to be back real soon.
That,
So looking
mm-hmm.
forward to seeing how that process develops, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to get back there and watch some games there.
Yeah, yeah. It's the beginning, not an ending, or whatever I can't remember Coach Saban's phrase. Remember, this is only the
Yeah,
beginning.
this
Yeah.
isn't the ending. This is just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
and Rob kind of said the same thing. So
Yeah.
there, it wasn't a case of we're just happy to be here. They just ran into a buzzsaw. I
Yeah.
mean, Oklahoma's taking Georgia in the woodshed right now. So
Mm-hmm.
they, and they just made a
Yeah.
great catch on.
Yeah. Yeah.
They, so for whatever reason, the 11th place team in the SEC is about to go to the championship game. They just really got hot at the right time, which is what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And Georgia got cold.
Yeah.
With the
So
bats.
think about what are some tangible things, some next steps for the program that you do to capitalize on this appearance, Roger?
Hopefully, hopefully reel in some more donors, some more ticket sales, just some more interest in general, like some buzz, not just in the last week of March of May and the first couple of weeks of June, but from August, September on, year round. Obviously, you're going to take backseat to while football and basketball is going on, but more people, more money, more ticket sales, more national interest, which then potential players notice that you're gonna have a better shot at bringing them on.
Mhm.
You're the coach. All the coaches we've had that I ever whenever I talk to them, they say like the name Alabama sells itself. Like, I mean,
Yes.
we get it gets us in the room regardless, and that's, a lot of credit to Nick Saban and Alabama football, obviously.
Mhm.
But they're now it's kind of like it gets you in the door, but now maybe it gets you a seat on the couch,
Mhm.
and they and get to talk to them a little bit more. And
Mhm.
because hey, look, they went to the World Series. They're building something there. Coaches are young and energetic. Let's see what they're all about, and potentially we can go there. And with a little more money, you get a little bit better players,
Mhm.
hopefully. But still keep getting the right guys, the right.
Right.
You don't want to do an LSU and spend a ton of money and have a bad mix and it blow up on you like it did in this year.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. This team was not built. It wasn't a bunch of bag chasers. It was, a lot of them. The pitching staff was largely recruited and built from within. Developed from within. You had some guys in the field and in the everyday lineup that were, one and done guys, or we brought in for a couple of years, but largely Drew. I mean, a guy like Bryce Fowler was not. It wasn't like there were a whole, there he was. Where was he going, to Campbell? Where was he going? It's
Yeah.
Campbell. And coaching change, and all of a sudden he falls in your lap, and he's your everyday right fielder and center fielder for 2 years. It wasn't like some of these guys were. They weren't. It wasn't like stray dogs, but they, but some of them were guys that weren't necessarily the highest profile guys in the portal, and I think it's a tribute to the staff how they brought them in, helped them gel with the team, and developed them.
Yeah. I guess Bryce ended up being our leading hitter average wise. He finished a tick ahead of Brady, and they were both over 300. But yeah, he's just kind of just a dirt bag out there. Just, he's
Yeah.
going to give it all. I read that he had a high fever during the week, and that's very
Mhm.
unfortunate. I think he did kind of, there was a ball in the outfield that went for the triple against Texas that I thought he normally
Between
would
the
have
two of
caught.
them.
I know
Yeah.
it's a big outfield, but yeah, you
Yeah.
could tell he wasn't really on his game, unfortunately. But yeah, that's kind of who we have to find. And I do wish that, we sign good high school players. I mean, I'd rather see someone like, you think about Wyatt Langford at Florida, who just had
Mhm.
4 bats as a freshman, then blew up as a sophomore, junior.
Mhm.
Now he's in the bigs. I'm not asking for that, but I'd love to see a guy who didn't play very much this year, or maybe some of those more guys get a
Yeah.
chance to be a starter, be an everyday guy, and see what they can
Uh-huh.
do. So yeah,
The Charlie Condon story a couple of years ago. Remember
Yeah,
that, Pat? I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, walk on or whatever, D3. But yeah, that's baseball players, they all develop at different speeds. And so sometimes somebody may be a stud at a small school and go to a big school, and they're
Mhm.
just not that good. But sometimes they're better when they transfer to the big school for whatever reason. So you got to kind of, you're rolling the dice, I think, on a lot of the
Yeah.
transfers. But I know we've got a few of them we can talk about at some point on the podcast right now. But we'll
Yeah.
be
Sure.
interested to see what we get.
Yeah. Touching on the games a little bit. I mean, the Oklahoma game. Cord Rager comes in there. We didn't see him
No.
the weekend we played them. I mean, we saw both the Mercurius brothers on the first evening, or maybe I can't remember if Cam it was both of them that night, or was Cam? Did Cam start the Saturday game?
No, it was they were both
They
Xander
were,
followed his brother when we knocked
yeah.
him out,
And
and
then
then
Cam started Saturday.
Xander just
Mhm.
shoved it up
Yeah.
our rear ends. So, but yeah, but Cord, I think he might have been hurt a little bit,
I thought so.
or like they've thrown 3 freshmen in their three
Mhm.
games as starters, and maybe it just went to the point they were using them yet. And he was
Mhm.
playing some first base too.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
I think maybe he's found his new home.
Yeah, I think he's I think he's got a spot there. What I thought of that game, I mean, what was evident to me early on, that Tyler Fay's last start in an Alabama uniform, and we'll mourn that here later. Um, and I mean, a pitching analyst could check this out. Felt like his arm slot was dropping a little, so he didn't have the same whip, kind of overhand whip on the slider. And I think he even said as much that the maybe the slider wasn't working. Things were up in the zone a little bit, kind of hanging, especially the off speed stuff or the breaking stuff. And so, um, when that's not working for you against a team that you can get off balance, bad things are going to happen, right, Drew?
Yeah, he didn't really have the stuff he had when Alabama played them week 3 of the SEC season, but I think it was more or less just running into a buzzsaw. But
Mm-hmm.
we did nothing against Cord Rager until about the 5th inning of that game. So
Mm-hmm.
it just seems like Fay could have pitched maybe his best game, second best game of
It
the
wouldn't have
year,
mattered.
and
Yeah,
yeah, we might have lost 2-0. But
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
their pitcher was really good.
Uh-huh. I had to laugh at one of the tweets, and I won't mention who put it out there today, talking about how undisciplined our hitting was. I'm like, well, imagine because we didn't walk enough. We struck out a lot more than we walked. Well, I think we were 21 strikeouts, 3 walks. Well, it's kind of hard to draw a bunch of walks when the guy throwing against you, and I'm talking about Rager, and that, throws 72% strikes, and every first pitch strike, everything's a first pitch strike. I think in the Texas game we had one inning where they where we kind of got the rehearse a little bit, but we didn't score anything. But the Lim homer, where he finally started throwing some first pitch balls, and we get ahead in counts. Well, you're going to be behind in counts if the guys are throwing first pitch strikes. You either got to swing at it, and then you're going to complain because you're swinging at first pitches, or you're going to take it and you're going to have a strike. You're going to fall behind in counts. I mean, mind you, this is the College World Series, and the 8 best, or the 8 playing the best teams in the country at this point in time, and especially those first couple of games, Roger, you're almost guaranteed to get a pretty premium arm going against you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be Volantis or Volchek or, in this case, right, Cord Rager. I mean, it's like playing Friday night game in SEC,
Yeah, exactly.
which of course we're playing SEC teams too. But yeah, I mean, and they strike one's the most important pitch in baseball, and they kept pouring it in there, and we just it's not like we're a juggernaut offensively
No,
anyway.
no.
So then when you get behind like that, we're not built to come
Mhm.
back. So
Yeah,
we were not touching him that day. Like I think Drew
no.
just said, we had the one inning in the 5th. We got Lim and Hines both singled leading off, and then
Mhm.
failed to get the bunt down a couple of times, and then hit into a double play,
Double
and
play.
then
That was
then we
it.
don't have a shot. So
Yeah.
um,
It's, the thing, far be it for me to defend our offensive approach or results this year. But by the same token, here's a breakdown for you. In the first 10 games of the series here, and so not the 2 today, but I compiled this earlier. Hitters struck out 206 times. They walked 75 times. So if you divide that, that's 10 games. So it's 20 teams, right? That's 10 strikeouts versus less than 4 walks on average per team. I mean,
not
that's
not much
what you
not much different than our numbers.
right. I mean, that's what you're going to get in College World Series play against likes of these teams are playing. Ole Miss strikeouts to walls 22-8. Carolina was 17-9. That was over 2 games. OU was 14-3 over 2 games. We were 21-3. We were the worst. I'll give it that. Texas 33 strikeouts, 10 walks. Georgia 40 strikeouts, 10 walks. Kind of a all or nothing power type team seemingly. Troy, West Virginia, maybe a little outlier. They were 31-17 for Troy. West Virginia's 28-15. But part of that was West Virginia playing Troy in their 3rd game, and you knew Troy probably wasn't going to have the same pitching depth everyone else had. So you were going to run into that. So again, let's not act like going into this series anyone thought the hitters would have some decided advantage over the pitchers, right, Drew?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say the name of the person. I know who tweeted it. It's a person who covered
It just set
infinitely
me off
more
today. Sorry.
person who covered infinitely more softball games in Tuscaloosa than baseball when he was in Tuscaloosa.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was tough. I mean, I didn't really expect our offense to just go in there and score.
Mhm.
10 runs in any of these two games. We were going to have to win 5-2 or something like that. And just, we fell behind 2-0, I think, in the first, at least 2-0 in the first inning of
Two
both
nothing.
these
Both
games.
against you.
So, yeah, it was tough against really good pitching. Riojas was pretty good.
Mhm.
Not as good as he was, I don't think, against us on the Saturday
Not first
game.
time.
But
Right. Right. Mhm.
yeah, and then Rager, yeah, we didn't see him. He was supposed to pitch that game 3, which might have been on Saturday of
Yeah,
that
I think it was.
series, but he
Mhm.
was pulled for some reason, and their whole pitching staff looks different. Of course, now I'll watch this.
Mhm.
Oklahoma's up 5-2, bottom of the sixth. Georgia's got bases loaded and two
Yeah.
outs, but
This may be your
I
game.
won't, I won't spoil Roger. I think I'm about 10 seconds ahead of him, is what I learned on a previous podcast. But yeah, it was tough pitching. We gotta
Mhm.
get hitters who can try to figure out how to better attack that pitching. And
Yeah.
hopefully they're
Uh,
addressing that either in the portal or with development of what we think is a good freshman class last year.
Roger, the broadcast, and unfortunately, it was like middle of the day on Monday, and I was at work, and I kind of had it down for a little while. So when they were going through
Yeah.
this, the thought of maybe Zane Adams tipping some pitches inside, I didn't tell the crowd about that a little bit.
But yeah, I heard that in the stadium from people watching on TV, and then
Mhm.
his dad was behind me, and like shortly after he came out, he came up and said he was tipping his pitches,
Mhm.
and apparently Eduardo Perez had them all uh,
Mhm.
up in the booth. So and probably too low to a whiskey on the bench might have been their
Mhm.
guy because
Right.
I mean you train for that in the big
Mhm.
leagues.
So
And
so
as
tell
Scott told
what
us the
give
other
me a
day, Todd Butler with Oklahoma is good at
uh,
picking it up as well.
yeah. So how do you tell me how you tip a pitch? Tell everyone. Give me something I
All
do
right,
that
let's
tips a pitch.
say you're throwing a fastball, your gloves
Mhm.
straight in front of your face.
Okay.
To find out if you're going to throw a changeup, you might be a little to the side. I mean, it may
Mhm.
be opposite of that, or
Uh,
you may have your hand further out of the glove. Your grip's different, and if they can
mhm.
get a view of that, but a lot of it is foot placement, glove placement. Whether it's here, or here.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of a natural thing for the pitcher, and they probably don't even. I mean, obviously, don't
Mhm.
realize they're doing it.
Mhm.
So
Are
it shows that you need to be repetitive in
mhm.
motion of everything you do, just
Right. Are
continually.
are these guys good enough, in y'all's opinion? Are guys good enough at this level? I mean, obviously these are some of the best in the world. They're just younger. Are they good enough that like maybe that they see where your release point, your arm angle? I mean, are they? I don't know that a coach can pick that up on a bench necessarily. No, they can pick up all the stuff you're talking about, but
Uh,
can they pick up? Hey, when his changeup comes at a little bit of a arm, at 80% of his height, if his fastball is coming over,
I mean, I'm sure somebody can pick that up.
Yeah.
Relaying it to the batter, that's another.
yeah,
The next batter, the
Mm.
next everybody else, like it would, but it's coming. You still got to hit it.
yeah. That's the thing, and this is a good hitting team. I mean, they beat us 14-2. I mean, it's not like
Right.
he could told him everything that was coming, and you might have got the same result.
I mean, I always think that when they say, "Oh, he's tipping his pitches," they know what's coming. Well, you got to be damn. I mean, you still got to be good I mean, hitting a baseball is still hard. I mean,
Yeah,
What
go ahead.
and you can adapt or adjust
Mhm.
accordingly. But I mean, give them credit for knowing it and hitting it.
And hitting, yeah. Rod, Drew,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
What I think happened with that is they must have already seen something on Zane about tipping the change-ups or whatever.
Mhm.
My wife and I stayed at the Hilton the first 2 nights, blew all my Hilton points. We'll do it again in a heartbeat. If I have to stay there again, it'd be $700 or $800 a night. Stayed in like Council Bluffs, Iowa, the
Mhm.
next 2 nights, which was not far off, but not the same as the Hilton. So they were having like all the ESPN guys stay there. So Saturday morning, I saw Schlossnagel and Wes Johnson in the hotel. My
Mhm.
wife saw Rob Vaughn and Jason Jackson. I just missed them going, and they said roll tide to her and all that. And
Mhm.
they're doing production meetings. And so what
Yeah.
more than likely happened was a coach told Eduardo Perez, who was watching his first college baseball games of
Mhm.
the season, maybe this is what we see. Look for this. If we were actually hitting his changeup or whatever, or
Mhm.
maybe then call it out or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I
Right.
doubt Eduardo picked
That's
up
interesting.
that on his own. That's my hypothesis on that. because they asked Schlossnagle after the game, and he was basically like, "Well, I wouldn't tell you if we did." So
Yeah.
they must have had something, and it's just remember
Uh-huh.
we had Hunter Furtado a few years back, and people
Yeah.
said he tipped pitches, and I don't know how he did it, but apparently people who can pick up on those things were able to pick up on it. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's my
Well,
theory.
yeah. I mean, Scott gave Paul and I a very good description of Todd Butler doing that for
Yeah.
Oklahoma when he was at Alabama, and
Mhm.
you know he's at Oklahoma, and look at the role they're on.
Look what's happening. Mhm.
Everybody,
Yeah.
but they still have to hit the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Schwarzenegger, by the way, and for again, when we first played out in Texas, very complimentary to Zane Adams. Obviously, recruited him heavily. Him being from Porter, Schloss was at A&M, or as he refers to it, my previous stop or my previous. Since he can't call him by name, probably by contractual obligation now, but was highly complimentary of him, and I think, like you said, he kind of pushed off the whole idea of that's why we hit him. So tough way for Zane to go out. I mean, tough way for any of those guys to go out because I mean, obviously, you want to perform well on the big stage. Doesn't discount from what they did 3 years, here and just what they did every weekend in SEC play over the over the over the last 3 years. Again, it kind of just in summary. I mean, hitting wise, offensively, Roger, a little bit of a microcosm of our season. Those two games.
Pretty much, yes. You know, would have expected maybe a few more runs somehow. Bigger field, maybe you can get some balls to fall, not necessarily hitting home runs, but you got to get it in play. I mean, too many strikeouts again, and but not we're kind of used to it, and just ran into two really good pitches
Yeah.
to us, and just didn't happen.
Drew, it felt a little to me like a lot of the Friday night or Thursday night games that we would watch and feel like, okay, Volandis shuts it down, or Texas beat us 12-2 or whatever the hell it was that night. Occasionally we'd have one of those. You're going to have those nights. I mean, Georgia had a couple of those this year, but you always had Saturday and Sunday to bounce back. You get knocked around Friday night, Saturday afternoon, you're right back at it. You're fresh and hey, let's go. And we tended to win a lot of these series. The difference here is one more and your season's
Mm.
done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we it seems like those tall lefties we just didn't hit very well, like
Yeah.
Rager. A few of them throughout, Volandis and just that guy from Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just you hate to see Faye and Zane have not so good starts to end their career. But that's usually kind of how it goes. Your last game, unless you win
Mhm.
it all, is
Yeah.
probably not going to be great. You think about Jacob McNary in the Wake Forest Super Regional, got
Oh yeah.
hit
Yeah.
around the park. He was really good for us that year, just like those two guys were here. So just kind of how it goes. I mean, those guys were great representatives of Alabama for their careers,
Exactly.
and they're going to get
Hmm.
drafted and
Hmm.
sign for hopefully a few $100,000 or something like that, and go have
Hmm.
maybe we'll see them playing at Regions Field or something like that in a
Maybe
couple
so.
of
Yeah.
years.
Obviously we were probably we were 7 national seed, but probably not getting the kind of quote national respect. And we got there. Um, Troy, let's talk about Troy a little bit because obviously in-state program, we see them twice a year, every year. Now you got to see them a lot. You got to see them a lot in the regionals and the super regionals. I mean, and we touched on it, what that means to that university, that program, how it elevates the profile of Skylar Meade, and just among mid majors, Roger. I mean, could you have had a better 3 weeks than Troy did?
No, particularly for, I mean, a team that lost 30 plus games
Yeah, it's
this season to get hot at the right time. And yeah, Skylar Meads, I would say he's not long for that place. He's going to
Mhm.
go bigger and better things. Although, it's a fine place to
Yeah,
good little mid-major team, and definitely got hot at the right time and turned the town on. I mean, they were, it just really is probably going to do wonders for for the university in the short, at least in the short term, as far as just visibility and maybe enrollment type thing, and
Mhm.
and some players, grab some players. I mean, he's got not. I mean, they. catcher, anybody in the country would take him. And then, maybe other than Georgia and Texas. I mean, Georgia and Texas, their two guys are pretty pretty damn good by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you say it? Janecki?
Janicki.
Janicki.
Janicki. I mean, just a tremendous player. And they had a lot of guys that were there for their second or third school and they'd come from smaller places and they just meshed together real well and got going at the right time and just discovered they had a guy sitting on the bench that was the second coming of Barry Bonds about regional time, and I think he had maybe 6 home runs and 20 RBI in the last in those between the regional, super regional, and World Series.
Yeah.
Very good representative for the state of Alabama. Better than their close neighbor that was up the highway, and glad they made it rather than those guys.
Yeah.
They represented the state with class, and happy for them. I wish
Yeah.
we'd have won at least. I wish we'd have been at least equal to their record. But
Yeah. Yeah. Walked away with a win. And I mean, obviously got, eventually that Cinderella, it always happens in the basketball tournament too. I mean, the team that maybe makes the Sweet 16 rarely gets through to the 8 or they win the round of 32 and or they get, they meet someone else. It's hard to put together that many. Drew, we've talked about it on this podcast and on other episodes or editions of this, maybe in the preview of the Supers or whatever, but it wasn't Troy's best team. I mean, I think the best team Schuyler's fielded was 2023. That very well probably should have won our regional.
Yeah, someone had told me they thought this was going to be their best team. It just took forever to figure that out. I think they probably had more guys who could pump 94, 95 on this team. Maybe I thought their offense was really good here. I had a chance to go to their first 2 games. I covered Troy for the Dothan Eagle 05 to 2012. So I saw a lot of familiar faces there. So it was fun for me to see that. Their last 2 coaches, Bobby Pierce and Mark Smart, were there. A lot of former players that I knew when I was down there, administrators who are still there. Troy's a really great little college town. I mean, there's more like stuff that pops up, as far as what you need and whether it's cool chain places or just local places. It's a nice place. You just drive through there 231 going like you're going to Dothan or Panama City, and it doesn't take you long to get there. But the campus, man, they really done a lot there. Good place. But yeah, they Scholar seems to get pretty good transfers with a chip on their shoulder. Like and what my buddy Jason, who was staying at the Alabama team hotel, so he interacted with a few Bama players. He like Zach Crotchfield, I think, is Auburn, Texas Tech.
Auburn.
Troy was one of the key relievers. A few of those others, I think, were just basically said, you don't have a spot anymore. Like I know that Pine guy left Indiana. He started, I think, for Indiana last year against us, if I remember right. So they do a great job of finding guys like that, and then some of those guys come in and really have career seasons like that. I think Piasecki, their shortstop, was at one of the directional Michigans, and he had a really good year for them. So they're and they basically have to kind of rebuild their roster like that every year because they may lose guys, and they kept Brooks Bryan last year after a really good sophomore year at catcher. So hopefully they'll keep Janicki and a lot of those guys. It just kind of really depends on what those individual guys' priorities are.
Yeah, and the challenge for Schuyler is going to be you got there, you perform well there, you made a big name for yourself, and all there is just what do you do for an encore? The likelihood of getting back anytime. I mean, it may be 27 years for them. Hopefully, it's not for us, but it could be. But I mean, for a Troy who'd never been there, I mean, you can hang your hat on that. It's just what do you do for an encore? Roger, your impressions of him. We always kidded about Schuyler all these years because we always played him in midweek games when he's changing pitchers 18 times, and so he just drove us nuts.
He grew on me this week. I think he's about the right stuff. He's I think he's good for college baseball, and one of the faces of college baseball on the good major level. And I really think we'll see him at a big school. within a year or two. It could be this cycle, depending on what
Yeah.
opens up and how he feels. I mean, I know he really seems to love it there. He loves the guys, playing with chip on their shoulder and being the underdog and all that, it seems like. But I mean, he pitched in the College World Series for Louisville,
Mhm.
right? So
We did.
I mean, he's been on the bigger stage. So I think I would expect him to do that, to really get some looks. And I mean, it would be a significant raise financially,
Mhm.
obviously.
No,
You know,
sure.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what Troy has, but it can't be SEC, ACC money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. A really cool thing, y'all might not have seen it because it was on in the TV coverage, was and maybe y'all saw it otherwise, but they dug up old video of him, or film of from the series in, is it '06 or was it '07? Maybe that he was
somewhere
six
in
or
that
seven.
area, six, seven,
Mhm.
eight, something like
Six or
that. Yeah.
seven. He's throwing, at the old, and still at the old Rosenblatt. He was kind of a crafty lefty. He was a, Wade LeBlanc, or what do you call him, Jamie Moyer type. I mean, he was
Mhm.
throwing, mid 80s, low mid high 80s, and so they've got video of him and got his players there commenting on it. They show, he throws a 87-mile-an-hour fastball, and he's there, he's getting a ribbing from it. So it's really, really cool if you can find that out there anywhere. But they did dig all that up, and so I thought that was neat. A real personable guy. I'm the same. Drew, I think, I mean, I walked away, and again, kiddingly, it was always, we were always yelling at Skylar for changing
Mhm.
pitchers all the time, but that's kind of what happens in midweek games. It's kind of, mainly because I don't want to have to drive home to Birmingham from Tuscaloosa at 10:30 on a Tuesday night, but it really grew on me too. It reminds, I mean, kind of a guy that maybe reminds you a little bit of, or a lot of, Rob Vaughn.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really
Yeah,
did.
young guys, personable guys. They know what they want in a player, and they know how they want to run their program. So, I think Skylar is maybe 40 or 41 by now. Rob is what, 38, 39?
Yeah, I think he'll
Yeah.
turn
So
39 in July.
okay. So yeah, it's fun, seeing the young coaches come up, and sometimes you get a Tony Vitello, and then sometimes you get guys that actually seem
Mhm.
likable. So mm,
That's a, yeah. Um, Next thing I want to cover is, talk a little bit about. I know y'all have seen it by now. I mean, you were at the games, but the post game, kind of just the raw emotion from Rob, breaking down, talking about his guys. I mean, in the, when he started talking about Justin LeBron and his family, and Jaden, his brother, and all like that. I mean, did you? I'm sure y'all have seen a lot of this by now, but um, just the
Yeah,
feel, all the
and that
feels from that.
close down in the stands too. And Rob's not typically a very emotional, you know, guy, and you can tell he really loved this team and loved that that they together got to go to experience this, and it was that way with all the guys that are leaving, all the guys that he feels like are leaving. Of course, Justin and Torres and Faye and
Yeah,
Adams and
saying it.
Bryce and Brady and a good portion, a very big portion of this team, of
Yeah.
course. But yeah, it was just unfiltered, raw,
Mhm.
emotional, and he he just handled the media stuff so well all through the regional,
Mhm.
super regional, and all the press conferences here. He's just, he's just built for that stage, and
Yeah.
just now things get the team back and and have a better performance the next time. Yeah,
Yeah.
now he's got the experience. He knows more what to expect. You know, I guess Mike Morrison had been in the College World Series as a
Mhm.
player and won. Garrett Wood had been in the College World Series and won as a player, and Brady had been on the LSU team that won. So they had some guys that had been there, so they had a little something to lean on. But now since Rob's done it personally, I think he and JJ and the others that hadn't
Mhm.
been there, it'll be a great thing going forward for them.
Mhm. Yeah. And you've got a pretty good young nucleus of this team. I mean, it was a great recruiting class last year that you brought in. You got a good, a solid group of, I've already. I mean, we won't talk about a whole lot tonight. We'll go through a little bit, but I mean, like, I've got that roster of 42 or 43. And I've already started highlighting. Okay, here's who's out of eligibility. Here's who's going to the draft. I mean, when you start narrowing it down, you've got 24 or so before guys that might transfer. You got 24 or so guys that are a core on this team. And I mean, Drew, talk about what a benefit to the future years and what you're trying to build, particularly with a team that, they have said they want to build around kind of high school guys and then just, fill in places with the experienced guys. I mean, talk about what benefit that'll be for guys like an Upchurch, Big Eric, Barnett, Taylor, everybody that was on that team, and what this means.
Mhm. Yeah, I think transfers are a huge part of the game, and I'm gonna root for whoever is wearing the Tide jersey next year, because if they ain't wearing crimson,
Yeah,
well,
amen.
in most cases, I mean, there's gonna be some guys who leave that will
Yeah,
continue to pull for. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how many guys leave. I mean, we can, like, right now. I mean, as of right now, Austin Morris, the pitcher, that and On3 reported he's going to leave us. There's a legit article on that. So as of 8:45 on whatever night
Mhm.
tonight is, that's the only one I've seen.
Right.
And we've
Right.
got
With
some who've,
1 year of eligibility. He's been in the
yeah,
program 4 years, or right, three,
yeah.
four
So
years,
he'll
4 years,
4 years,
3 years,
and hopefully
Yeah.
4 years.
he's a
Mhm.
really talented pitcher.
Redshirt.
Hopefully he'll get some innings next year and set himself up well. And I know we've got some guys coming in. So yeah, over the next few days we'll see more guys probably pop in the portal. But I really hope some of these uh, freshman position players get a real chance next year to,
Young pups, I
yeah,
think we call
young
them.
pups. Hines did this year, and if you think about it, Kroberger and Purdy got a little bit of run, just maybe didn't
Mhm.
quite take advantage of it like Hines did. But
Mhm.
I think we got a few guys on the roster who have a chance to play a
Yeah.
lot more next year than they did last year.
Yeah, Roger, you see these guys up close and personal every day. I mean, every day in practice, all through the fall. A lot of these guys will go off in the summer and uh, develop and get 100 or more at bats somewhere in some league, at least live. And then we always marvel. We come back and they start playing September, October, and I'm like, damn, that who is that?
Yeah.
They look different. You go from 18 to 19, and you've
Right.
been in a program like this. It they just it's like a quantum leap. You talk about that and how you see that every year.
Well, yeah, I mean, a year of year of the workouts and the training table, and then just maturing from 18 to 19, 19 to 20. I mean, you're gonna get bigger and stronger. Lord help us if Eric gets bigger and stronger, but it does happen. And then going off, we'll follow them in the summer leagues, and hopefully some guys will get 100, 200 at bats and take advantage of it and come back in the fall ready to go. Um, Take a big leap. Your Caleb Barnett's and Purdy's and
Mhm.
Proberger, in particular, Joe Shuardo, on the mound and at the plate, and Evan Taylor, same thing outfield and
Mhm.
and pitcher, just from this class. And then we got some good looking freshmen that are supposed to, if they survive the draft, that we'll look at come middle of August
Mhm.
and see what we have. And then, a couple portal guys that have come up.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the transformation from first day they step on campus freshman year to like Justin LeBron was 145 pounds or whatever. I mean, and still could hit the ball a mile as a
Mhm.
freshman. And then, now he's 195, 195 pounds and about to
Mhm.
be a first round draft pick. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's fun seeing them grow physically and mentally and as baseball players. And
Mhm.
that's just part of the charm of college baseball to me.
Yeah. I'll go down a list here. These are guys. I mean, obviously, we expect the big three, as we'll call it, the juniors that to go to the draft, and then I'll run down the list of the guys that are out of eligibility. Of course, Justin LeBron will be a first-round draft pick. Holt out of eligibility. Faye, we expect to go to the draft. Fowler, Neal, Blackwood, Alcock out of eligibility. Zane Adams, obviously, draftable guy. Tate Robertson, left-handed pitcher. Torres has been our third baseman day in, day out for the last 2 years. Johnny Lim, it was a great ad for us in the season. Really, won some games for us as a catcher and DH, and just showed that toughness kind of personified with the team. Hagan Banks, who's probably the heartbeat of that team. Laughing at one of these things, I posted a. It was during the game last night, I think, and they were maybe Skylar had said something about how hard it is to schedule there, and how LSU, how they had called him in 2023 about changing that. Maybe they were supposed to go to LSU for a weekend. They changed up, punted it to some other year because it was first year down there or whatever. And I pulled the lineup LSU had that year, and of course all these guys are big leaguers at schemes. And I pulled our Friday night game at LSU, and it was the night that Holman's back tightened up, and then everything kind of went from there. And I'm like, they really ducked Troy that year. But that night, if you don't recall, Hagan Banks started that game on like 2 hours notice, right? I mean, so
We knew that. We knew that before it was announced. We could have made a bet if we wanted to.
Yeah, we did. We did.
No,
I don't know how you know that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a source of knowledge. It wasn't Brad Bohannon or his buddy or anything like that.
No, but April 23, and here we are 3 years later. And I mean, Hagan Banks is still out there, having gone through surgery and whatnot. I mean, that the heartbeat of that team. He moves on. Kittrell, Stackmesser, who was had some moments this year. So really, you're looking at about 3 guys out of that crew that are draft eligible, draftable. First or second day guys, maybe 11 out of eligibility. So out of 42 on the roster, you really got like 28 core. You can probably expect 7, 8 of those, maybe 9, 10. I don't know. I mean, just who knows? I don't know what's going through these guys' heads or whatever. But I mean, let's say you come back with 20 guys and you bring in 14 recruits and you get 6 or 8. I don't even know what the roster number will be now, but you're already starting to see a few portal signings or commitments with infielder from DBU, a couple of pitchers from Mercer, South Florida. Drew, if you had to prioritize something for this team as I go through that list of guys we're losing, knowing what's coming back, knowing what's coming in, where have you got to go to correct or to improve this team? Because obviously there's got to be some offensive improvement.
Yeah. We also need some weekend pitchers because we got Miles Upchurch back, and we got the kid from Mercer who is a draft eligible guy. So you never know. We lost a couple of pitchers last year to the draft. So that was Garrett Lambert, a right-handed pitcher from Mercer, and then South Florida guy. Name is escaping me. He was a freshman last year. Michael Sine, freshman All-American. So we know we'll have him.
Czech Republic.
I think Coach Mike Morrison. You say Czech Republic?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So the language barrier. We'll have to see how that goes. But and Coach Morrison has done the. If you're able to follow Mike Morrison on Twitter, some of you may not be able to, but if you're able to, he does a Forrest Gump Alabama graphic or GIF or whatever when we get a commitment. And he's done that a few times. I think it was with Jack Rostock, the freshman pitcher, and then at least I think there's one we don't know about just yet.
I think there's either 1 or 2.
Yeah,
there was 3 done, and 3 portal guys plus the high school guy. So I don't know if there's really another one or not. Depends on the time, and sometimes they come right on top of each other a lot of times, and then you don't hear anything for a couple of days.
So set your alerts. I believe it's at Coach Mo 25. I think that's right. Not me.
Yeah,
Uh,
on Sine, I mean, freshman All-American, 81 innings. The only thing that's a little bothersome for me is 55 strikeouts
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
in 81 innings and in whatever league they're in.
Yeah. The American. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
but I mean, he had a good ERA. He only walked
Mhm.
17, gave up 70 hits. So, I mean, obviously he knows how to pitch, and he and Miles are on the same freshman All American team,
Mhm.
game freshman All American team.
Mhm.
The Lambert guy with being a 23 high school graduate and just played his first year uh, college baseball. You know, he is draft eligible, might be a risk to lose, but they may also want to see him put 2 healthy years together. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
there'd be
Yeah.
a chance on it. He struck out 90 in 71 innings.
Uh,
And that Mercer, I mean, I know when we're talking about the not getting in the tournament, their strength of schedule was not
mhm.
very stellar. So, don't know who that was against that he struck out all these guys, but
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
still looks like 71 innings with 58 hits and 90 strikeouts is pretty strong.
Mhm. Yeah. If I had to, I would consider some of these guys as like transfer portal or, I think of Humphrey, who was probably slated to be our closer this year. If he comes back from UCL surgery, and is half of what we thought he was going to be this year, that's a big get, as our one of our friends on Twitter likes to cringes when we say. Logan Davenport, same thing. I mean, didn't see any action, injury. Coleman Mizell, remember that name? Was a good contributor for us last year and didn't play. If To me, the key to this roster is if you can get those, core of guys like that. Christensen, I guess, could get a red shirt year. He'd already redshirted, but I guess he could get a medical if he comes back. But my eyes are really on Humphrey, Davenport, and Mizell, because if you get those guys back, it's like a recruiting class. It's like a
Right. Yeah.
recruiting class pickup. The other two I think of are and again, I have no inside info aside from what your thoughts on this a little bit. Ashton Crowther was awesome down the stretch. I mean, it was a revelation as we kind of really, I think we talked about it a little bit last week. And maybe it was the game at Oklahoma when Miles turned the ankle and we had to go to the bullpen, and the three guys that ended up being really our mainstays in the bullpen carried out the rest of that game, that last 6 innings, and we won. And Crowther was one of those. Crowther's got a year of eligibility left. He's a redshirt junior. If he obviously draftable, could get some draft attention, could be a starter, frankly, if you ask me. And the same with Matthew Heiberger, who was in the running to be a starter this
Yeah.
past year.
Mhm.
Right.
Threw a
Not
lot
as
in the
big
cake.
amount for that.
Yeah, if both those guys come in, and both are clearly draftable and could get a lot of draft attention. But if you get those two guys back, the other three that I mentioned, I mean, that really goes a long way to helping
Builds
you.
you, builds your staff, yeah, with some depth to it.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll go on a limb and say Crowther's coming back. I mean,
Mhm.
from his mouth to my ears,
Okay,
it's
good.
coming back. Uh,
In
and
confidence.
and Matthew, um, is an interesting. He may very well he's going to make a decision about whether to come back or not, and it may depend on if he has a shot at being a starter or not.
It'd be start. Yeah.
Um, and he really pitched well against Texas, and he
Mhm.
went a little longer than he normally does, and that got that little oppo homer run off of him, but they didn't touch him for a good 3 innings
Yeah.
there. Um, but yeah, with obviously your linchpins, Miles Upchurch.
Yeah.
And then Humphrey is definitely coming back
Yeah.
to Alabama. It's just when is he
Was he
healthy?
ready?
And he seems to think he'll be ready fairly soon. Maybe not Riley Quick soon, but
Yeah.
opening day kind of thing. But he's and
Mhm.
he's a bulldog. I mean, he's intense. He's intense on that
Yeah.
mound.
Like
And
we mentioned, I think earlier when because he appeared in game or two early on.
Right.
And I think I mentioned. I mean, he's just the kind of psycho you want as
Right.
your closer. I mean,
I
he kind of
mean,
had some psycho tendencies. I like that.
if
But yeah, I mean,
anybody was at the scrimmages or practices and heard the barking, that's Caden Humphrey.
Mhm.
yeah, those guys to me though that I went down. I mean, those maybe five or six guys that if you retain most or all of them, or those injured guys come back in some form and contribute at the level you thought you might have gotten last year, you've got a pretty good little core on this team. But Drew, I think the elephant in the room is uh, offensively, you can't be a 240, 245 average team slug like we did. You just something's got to give there, and I don't know what changes it. What do you? And I know
Yeah.
the coaches are self aware enough to realize that what you put on the field offensively this year is not going to carry you to the kind of year that you had this year if you do that again next year, because the pitching staff and just everything that went right with our pitching staff, I think is something that probably an anomaly, right?
Yeah. The funny thing is, so at the Texas game, I was sitting next to a parent of a current player, and
Mm.
up on the board, Casey Borba is hitting eighth for Texas, and he comes up and 261, 18 home runs. And the parent said to me, "Man, wouldn't you love to have an eight hole hitter with 18 home runs?" I said, "I'd love to have an 8 hole hitter hitting 261." So we got to have uh, guys have to take some leaps. And I know batting average, it can kind of be fluky, and maybe
Mhm.
those other. I don't really know much past it,
Yeah.
those. I'm a batting average, homer, RBI, stolen base guy,
Mhm.
all that other stuff. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. But yeah, we got to have some guys take some leaps or come in and beat out returning starters if they were like maybe freshmen last year. Yeah, we you really want to see. You look at Troy's batting average; they didn't have that many guys over 300, but
Mhm.
instead of having 200s at the end, they had 260s and 270s. So
Yeah.
you know, we have a few more of those. I think what there was a lot of like 200 to 260 in our lineup, maybe even 200
Mhm.
to 240. We got to have some improvements there. Figure out some way to do that. Get more barrel up more balls. Easier said
Mhm.
than done, but yeah, just kind of got to get better at the plate.
Mhm. Yeah. Roger, I mean, you saw a lot of this last year. Obviously, Zach Johnson, who came in as a freshman and was injured with his shoulder, couldn't throw. You'd see him catch if you're at games. Obviously, you'd see him warming up the pitcher, catching, because he didn't have to like hum a throw down the second or anything. Duke can swing the bat. I mean, so that when you look at it kind of position by position. He's back. Plattner's a redshirt junior, could certainly be back. Luke Vaughn was a hell of a catcher, but maybe he goes back there. I don't know, and maybe you find a guy in the portal too. I don't know, but it feels pretty good at that spot.
So I mean, I do believe they're probably looking at a portal catcher. Don't know
Mhm.
what's going to happen with Plattner. They would love for Luke to catch again. It's just if his shoulder will allow it. I mean, I've chatted with him about it before, and
Mhm.
he thinks at some point, he needs to try to get back there again. But
Mhm.
I was from the day one, I was very impressed with Zach Johnson's bat.
Yeah.
He's a
Mhm.
big dude,
Big
and
kid. Yeah.
in catching drills, he was very, he shifted well, he blocked, he looked like he could handle it behind the plate. He's also
Mhm.
was a hockey player, so I mean, I think that's some of that kind of stuff. But I mean, the bat really looks like it can play. And then in
Mhm.
scrimmages, he would, he even caught, but obviously, he couldn't throw at that time. And
Mhm.
when injuries happened, he was stuck out in right field a time or two, and at first base a little
Mhm.
bit. So I expect him to be some help this coming year. And he did
Mhm.
the last 2 or 3 weeks. He started throwing the
Okay.
bases. So
Mhm.
so his arm's getting better. It's just about that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Defensively, the other weakness of this team is just defensively, a lot or next worst, depending on what measure you use. Defensive team in the SEC, and the pitching worked around it. I mean, the pitching just was able to kind of mask it a little bit. Drew, any thoughts on guys out there or guys up and coming? I mean, we saw a little bit You saw a little bit of Kroberger, who seemed to flash some pretty good things out in the outfield. But you've had a pretty good defensive center fielder who is also a good defensive right fielder, Peyton Steele with the arm and right. But you kind of feel like around the board you've got to upgrade defensively too.
Yeah, last year when we had Richie Bonamolo in center and Bryson Wright and
Mm-hmm.
uh Snell in left was probably the best defensive left fielder we've had over the
Mm-hmm.
last 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
which we haven't had really much there just for whatever reason. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
Hines can get better there. But yeah, looking to see if any of these guys can make a jump. I mean, Kroberger, I'm sure could play center. Maybe they want him to be that. Pitching wise, we Upchurch obviously will be a weekend guy, probably a Friday guy, but maybe
Yeah.
Luke Smyers has a chance. His freshman year kind of reminded me of Grayson Hitt, where he showed some flashes and then he couldn't throw strikes, and then you didn't
Yeah.
see him in the last 5, 6 weeks, and you wondered if you ever would again. Well, then the next thing you know, he's a weekend starter the following 2 years
Mm-hmm.
until he got hurt. So maybe Smyers can make that jump. I know he's got a good arm, good left-handed arm, so he's kind of a guy I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It feels to me like I said, before, you've got a good core. You've done the work in recruitment for the guys out of high school, and now it's just a matter of, hey, we got to develop them, because we talked about it a lot. We probably didn't do enough on the development front to get the young guys ready. But by the same token, we're playing older guys, and we go 18-12 in the conference, and we win a regional and super, and we get to Omaha for the first time in
Yeah.
27 years. I'll take that trade off. I'm sorry. It
Mhm.
just it worked out. I think anyone in the country would take that. So you're now kind of faced with the challenge of the coaching staff being, how quickly can you get these guys ready? And by ready, I mean SEC ready, because it's one thing to be ready, it's one thing to be SEC ready, Roger.
That's true. Yes. Um, you know, I don't I don't know the answer to how you do it, but yeah, as we look back, of course, we say, well, wish they'd have gotten some more bats early on.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then maybe if they were it's kind of like these Oklahoma pitchers, the
Mhm.
freshmen, they brought them along slowly during the year, and then they got to this time, and then they're just like, hey, we're going with these. They sat down the
Mhm.
upperclassmen, and they're just going with these
Yeah.
guys, and they're about to take them
Yeah,
to
they're two
the
innings away from playing for the national
Mhm.
championship starting Saturday.
Kind of going belt to ass late in this game, 9-3. Our buddy Chris Phillips at SEC Unfiltered.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think that is it's a good point. I mean, there's a trade off there and you already see the tendencies of other teams around the conference. The LSU's, who had, by every measure, a very disappointing season. Mississippi State, who got knocked out in the supers, but a hell of a fight. Arkansas, who got knocked out in the they got regional, they got knocked out in the regional, or they get a super, I can't remember. That
Kansas Regional.
it's Kansas Regional. They You're seeing those guys really loading up on what
they
I'd
have
call maybe the marquee portal players, or at least the ones that are seemingly marquee. Now they got to come hit in the SEC 30 games, but those guys are really loading up, because that's the way you get well quickly.
they have
Um,
10 portal
yeah,
commitments already. Arkansas.
already in
Yeah.
Arkansas. Yeah. So they're and it happens every year with LSU. I mean, they're gonna get their share of the top. If you got a ranking of the top 100, they're gonna get 7, 8 of those, or the 7, 8 of the top 30, or whatever the number is. I mean, they're going to pull them in, because they're going to throw the money around. The keys, though, you get them in. They got to adjust to the SEC. B, they got to adjust to the new environment, and C, they got to gel with their team. So we won't go that far in the portal, I don't think. Although I think that, like I mentioned, the self awareness of the staff has got to be centered around, we've got to be better offensively, whether it's changing our approach to hitting, changing how we do things from a development standpoint, or just changing who we get in here. Because I don't know, we finished, but I mean, probably 240 or worse after those two games. But that 240 ish, or batting average is not gonna is not going to propel you to 18 wins next year in the SEC. I don't think.
Not if you have five of them with 240 batting averages or less,
No,
I think.
no.
One, you can probably be okay if that person's a plus defender.
Right.
Yeah, this year man, I don't know how we did it. We just got those
Yeah.
3-run home runs late in games and just made plays when we did. Glad we
Well,
did.
just in recap, thinking of the season in recap, I mean, I think a lot of what we did is kind of like I talked about a minute ago. You had games like the Oklahoma game the other day or the Texas game the other day. You'd have that game early in the weekend, but you just found so everything, you'd view everything in this prism of how bad you were, right? You think about your perception of that team is that team at its worst, right? And how bad they can be, but they always found a way to rebound, and maybe they might turn around and do that to someone else, and then they'd eke out a one run win or something. It felt like they found a way to rebound off the weekend, and of course having the stability within the pitching staff and the Friday, Saturday, Sunday starters who could get you 6 or 7 innings of quality start and keep you in games, at least 2 out of 3 times every weekend. It positioned you well enough to be in those games, and then you won 6-2 in the SEC in 1-run games, or 8-2. I can't remember, it was one or the other. It just everything just played out, but again, I don't think that formula necessarily works every year. It probably don't work most years. I certainly don't think it's going to work next year.
Yeah, it worked this year, but yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Mhm.
That's not a recipe for success most often.
Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about, and I think we touched on it a little bit, but um, this marked the end of the Justin LeBron era. 3 years of Justin LeBron, who came to campus, and I can remember from about the first or second practice that you saw him, and you telling us this guy's going to be on the field every day. I mean, it was that evident, even when, like you said, he was 145 pounds or whatever when he first got to campus. Rob's tribute to him and talking about him changing the trajectory of our program by staying here when other people maybe wouldn't have, or when he had opportunity, he could have gone anywhere after a year, right? He could have gone after the freshman year he had. Drew, just talk about the legacy of LeBron and what that means to the program.
Yeah, I really think that people, when they sign with big schools or Power Five
Mm-hmm.
schools like Alabama, at least out of high school, I think most of them, even if they are really good as a freshman, they want to stay. But it really just depends on what their circle wants them to do, or what
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unk in their circle who they
Yeah.
met when they were 18 wants them to do. Those are the types of guys you see leave for, like, Alabama
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
LSU or Florida or something. But yeah, LeBron, it seems like he just loved it here since he got here, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that after his freshman year that, yay, Alabama did like a LeBron is back, Adams is back.
Uh-huh.
They didn't do those last year because they didn't really ever consider leaving, So
No.
I
Yeah.
guess Zane could have been drafted, but yeah, you need guys like that, and he was the face of the program, was a phenomenal player for us. You wish the average could have been 320 like one of those top guys
Sure.
do, but yeah, I thought he had a good year, really good year. Maybe next year you got Hines as that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, looking forward. You got to have superstars like that to
You do.
contend for Omaha, like we did.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing about it early on, if it felt like he was playing under little pressure and made a lot of kind of careless errors and his footwork and his handwork and feel, down the stretch. I mean, they put a graphic up. Maybe I don't remember. Maybe he ended up with 18 errors or 16 errors, but all but 2 of them were in the first 20 something games. The next 20 something games, he
Yeah.
made like 2. I think he might have made one. I don't know if they called that an error of the night on that volume
Yeah,
chart.
I think he would have beaten it out, but they put it up
Yeah.
as an error.
Yeah, so
Um,
I mean, and it was meaningless, obviously, but really came a long way with the glove, and I mean, won games for you with the glove, whether people realize that or not. With what he did defensively, Roger, you close to him and close to the family, the situation there with the family and the little brother and everything, the
yeah.
little sister running around at the games in front of us all the time. I just talk about what he meant to the program and
Well, and just just everything. I mean, he brought eyeballs to the program
Hmm.
that wouldn't have, and in this World Series trip was just going to magnify that even more. But
Hmm.
every road trip, every place we went, every kid in the stand, adults too, are like LeBron, and
Yeah.
they're trying to get a ball signed or get an autograph or get a picture, and
Hmm.
he was very good about taking care of almost every one of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's just a lot, for a young guy, like every day, every time. But just Jaden got real emotional, after
Hmm.
he gets upset when we lose, of course, and
Yeah.
but Justin's so good with him, and
Hmm.
then Janelle just the I think even Casa Grande like softened up his hard part, seeing
Mhm.
Janelle and Justin hugging
Hmm.
after the game. So he
Yeah.
said he chose not to write a bad article about all.
It really was a good. I'm going to say it really was a
It
good
was pretty
article.
good.
It
Yeah, it was
was.
good.
It was one of the
Yeah.
better things he's ever
Yeah.
done, which I don't
Yeah.
know, that's a low bar, but it was just kidding, Big House.
Yeah.
But great family, just and Justin
Hmm.
is very family oriented. That's one of the reasons he stayed.
Hmm.
A mom, dad, granddad, the two brothers and the sister came, as much as
Yeah. Mostly
possible.
good.
And
Yeah.
you got a kid that ended up with 66 out of 68 stolen bases in his career,
Yeah. Hmm.
46 home runs, several All-American and All SEC selections and All District and all
Yeah.
kind of things. They're you know, gonna be a high first round pick. He dropped a
Yeah.
little bit early in the
Hmm.
year from what they thought.
Yeah.
They
Hit
think
top
we'll be
20 instead of top five. Well, that's probably
right.
right.
And then he's kind of started pushing himself back up toward top 10. And
Uh-huh.
talking to the scouts there, a few of them are like, "Oh, he's dropping," and a few of them are like, I hope these idiots will let him drop so
Yeah.
we can take him." And
Yeah.
then and I've talked to some that are up in the top five, and
Hmm.
they really, hoping they have a shot at, they can
Hmm.
convince their
If
higher
he's there.
ups not to look at the box scores
Hmm.
and go by what I'm
Hmm.
seeing with my eyeballs.
Yeah.
So
Um,
he'll be a great representative of the university, and he'll do well and have a
mhm.
good draft here in a month or so.
Yeah. So the team's back. We're cleaning out the locker rooms. We're having exit interviews or end of season interviews, as we call them. Guys are going off to summer destinations, and we'll get that out to everybody. And we'll do another one of these in another week or two. Talk a little more about the kind of recap the season. Talk, Roger, a little bit about what comes next for some of these guys. What guys coming back that maybe, obviously a lot of them go play somewhere in the summer. A lot of them maybe take the summer off and work out and stay around town or whatever. Kind of talk about the summer, the summer tempo, and then what happens when they get back in August.
Okay, yeah, most of the younger guys that didn't get much playing time will go off and play and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully get 150 at bats. Guys that had maybe have had any kind of injury,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes older guys, even like juniors, will stay behind, work
Yeah.
out, work counts, make a little money working counts, work out, just stay in shape, and then greet the freshmen who will be coming in,
Uh-huh.
relatively soon. Um, if heck, if they're not here yet, when
Someone probably there.
summer one starts, and then some of them for summer two. So that's coming. Hopefully, some guys go off to summer ball
Mm-hmm.
and get a lot of at bats and come back with some confidence
Yeah.
and some growth, and like your Caleb Barnett's and
Mm-hmm.
Purdy's and Kroger,
Dorado. Yeah.
Sciroto, and those guys and get a lot of work this summer and then come back ready to go. And then the pitchers, like Miles, is either Team USA tryouts or the K,
Uh-huh.
but you don't want him throwing.
No, I could throw a
I
lot.
mean,
Yeah.
a couple of games. I mean, he has 80 innings under his belt this
Mm-hmm.
this spring, so they don't tip. Somebody that was in a regular rotation or not, usually they don't spend a lot of time in summer ball when they're
Mm-hmm.
pitchers. And the ones that go off and pitch a lot this summer that hadn't pitched, when they come in the fall, they'll either get
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks off or up to the whole fall.
Yeah.
So, so it's just depends on what they do during the summer to what will happen in the fall. And then
Mm-hmm.
they'll all gather back in 2 days before school start, middle of August, August 12th or
Yeah.
11th, 10th, whatever that date is. And then get going with their individual workouts, they call it,
Mhm.
like 4-on-4, and then it'll morph into the regular practice session, which is usually starts in October.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really, I mean, you're hitting the weight room. I mean, when you get back,
So,
you're hitting the weights hard, probably during the August time frame, getting the body back up, and then you kind of get into really what kind of more like middle of September, maybe they kind of start the practices. We still on, are we still doing two of the two, I call them scrimmage games or
yeah,
um,
as far as I know, unless there's a change, I mean, I
yeah.
think they even said you could do more than two now.
Okay.
Oh, that was one of the proposals. If I don't know if it
Mhm.
passed or not.
Yeah.
And we've been having the last couple of years, one home and one away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind two Friday
Two
nights
home would be
before
nice.
football games, home would
Mhm.
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a little currency now, like we're World Series teams, like,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
come to
Yep.
us. We're on the big boy path now. So
Uh-huh.
hopefully, we'll have a couple of those and
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be practicing in late August and in September, but they're like officially practice
Mhm.
starts usually around October 15th or something.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Drew, so give me one guy out of those young guys we talked about. Who do you think has the most to gain this summer from having a good summer somewhere?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with I think a guy that really intrigues me is Evan Taylor.
Yeah.
Not just because of his hitting. I've heard people tell me he can hit at 450, but also that he may strike out a whole lot. But
Yeah.
I've also heard he's 92, 93 on the mound. So
Uh,
I had a chance. I was kind of just around the area, down the third base line where some families come. I was trying to help my buddy's kid get autographs, and he did. And Evan was one of those guys who signed his ball, and so he had hit a double his first career hit in the Alabama State game. So I did ask him. I said, I heard you can pitch, and he said maybe next year. So I would have said Caleb Barnett because he's the local guy, and I am. That is definitely one guy, but I think I'm intrigued about Evan Taylor.
uh, yeah. I feel the same way, but probably same two guys for me. And I mean, it's especially given they both can pitch, and I'd be
Hmm.
real interested to see if we do ultimately integrate guys as two-way players because you felt like with the roster limitations or when you start restricting the roster a little bit that you're going to need more kind of two-way guys um, or that you're going to start using two-way guys. We didn't really see that from them this year, but maybe it's just because they're freshmen. So we'll be real interested to see how. Roger, last thing, who give me a name that that in talking to the coaches or other guys, give me a name of somebody coming in from the freshman class or the JUCO ranks that is intriguing to you
Gosh,
that we need to be on the lookout for next year.
I'm gonna go with this the guy that just signed
Yeah.
Rostock, Jack Rostock.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Rostock. Yeah.
Supposedly he's 96 and a high school senior here,
Mm-hmm.
um, and considered a draft risk.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm saying that mainly because I don't have the other
Uh-huh.
signees' names in front of me at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them in there that were really high on, and
Mhm.
I can't bring their names to
Yeah.
mind at the moment.
That's all right. Yeah. Well, we got plenty of time to come up with that, and we'll put another show together here in the next few weeks. We're middle of June. We got a lot of time to fill before the roster is fully put together. As things develop, we'll be back, and we love talking about Alabama baseball, whether it's in the middle of June or late July or October, or certainly from the every week from February through the end of June. So, guys, I enjoyed it. Glad y'all are back safely from just what sounded like a wonderful experience in Omaha. Hope to join you there next year when
Yes,
when
sir.
we get back. So great. That's it for tonight on the Weekly Joe. The last last kind of regular one for this summer. We'll get another one together here in a couple of weeks though, maybe to recap the season. For Roger Myers, for Drew Champlin, I'm Paul Graham. We really appreciate you joining us. and for being big fans of the Weekly Joe throughout the season and throughout the year. We will see you down the road.
All time.
Swing it, boys, swing for the fence. Shove it, boys, make 'em miss. Some big league chew and a baseball souvenir. Come on, sing with me now. The Joe's home, sweet home. It's roll, tide, roll. The Joe is home, that's right. Home, sweet home. Hey, look, is that Roll Tide Willie over there? Well, it's Bama